Welcome to the Leading Woman Show. Patriarchy is a social system in which positions of dominance and privilege are primarily held by men. It is a cultural, economic, and social system that presumes the superiority of men over women. In daily life, we see patriarchy presenting itself in various forms: denigration of women's achievements, exclusion from public office, sexual and gender-based violence, and denial of female rights and agency. Women, like men, perpetuate patriarchy in various ways. This is because patriarchy has reinforced a sense of inferiority within women, who have then internalized it over the years. As opposed to what is commonly believed, this subconscious support for patriarchy by women has influenced all sectors of the society of which politics is inclusive. By consenting to institutionalize patriarchy, women contribute, with or without knowing it, to reinforcing the institutions that oppress them. What is even worse is the fact that women also ingrain this thinking and outlook to their female children. So generation after generation of women are brought up in line with the social norms approved by men for the female gender, and thus the cycle of patriarchy is being consolidated. But all of this can change through conscious and concerted efforts. Hello and welcome to the Leading Woman Show, the election series, brought to you with support from the National Endowment for Democracy. I'm Abosede Uduaghan, and today we will be discussing a very important topic: women as custodians of patriarchy. To do this with me, I have three amazing guests in the studio. First is Orade Uduaghan. She's the former Senior Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor on Small and Medium Scale Enterprise Development. She ran for the House of Assembly seat for Warri North constituency under the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 general elections. Welcome, Orade.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have with us in the studio Uduaghan Ellu, who is the head experience design and execution at Sterling Bank PLC and was formerly the head of customer engagement at Alliance. Welcome, Uti. And finally, we have Chinasa Collins-Ogbuo, who is the head Inclusion for All Advocacy Initiative, a multifaceted advocacy platform that seeks to remove the barriers that keep the vulnerable excluded. Welcome, Chinasa.
Thank you.
Well, if you are like me, I'm sure that you cannot wait to dive into the conversation. So sit back, relax, and let's have this conversation. All right. Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about something really important today, and I think I have the right people to have this conversation, so I'm really, really excited. So my first question, and I want to start with you, T. Do women perpetuate patriarchy?
Oh, wow. You have to start there. Short answer, yes, sadly. We find that, it's important to say that we have come a long way. If you look at the movements when it comes to patriarchy, to feminism, some things were not as relevant here in Nigeria when we talk about maybe the right to vote. But if you think about the whole suffragette movement, all the different waves that we've had to where we are today, we have made progress. But when we come to home, to where we are today in Nigeria, sadly, the culture that we have is the number one cause when I say yes, it is the case. Because we would like it to be different. And we are seeing a shift in the generations as we move along. But our mothers, if they were sitting right behind us or beside us today, would not even understand
Why we're having this
why
conversation.
we're talking about
Absolutely.
this. It would be a no-brainer, a non-starter,
Yeah.
because
Problem.
this was just the way, or is the way
That's what's
things are
done.
done.
Why
Exactly.
you-
So you'd be like, why is this the topic for today? But then when you come to our generation,
Yes.
our generation, the culture shifted a bit,
Mm.
very slightly.
Mm.
So feminism helped us to be more aware
Right.
of who we are,
Yes.
how we should see ourselves.
Yeah.
Because you are programmed. Culture is such a powerful thing. And
It is.
I mean, it really doesn't matter where you are. It sticks, right? So you are programmed to think that you are less than. You are programmed to think that some roles aren't for you, some jobs, some opportunities are just not for you, purely because you are female. It's not even capacity based.
Absolutely.
You don't even get the opportunity to think about it from the perspective of, can I do it? Your gender shuts the door immediately.
Yeah.
And then you come to the point where you say, okay, it's starting to shift. Now I know that I have a seat at the table. Now I know that I'm equal. Now I know that I have capacity. But am I paying it forward?
Exactly.
So this new generation that's coming in, at least with the Gen Zs, right? It's almost like they don't see gender. When they think about themselves, they've moved past the whole conversation around this. This for them is, I mean, I saw a video once with my niece and I were looking at it, and the guy was dressed almost gender neutral. And all I could see was his outfit. And after the video, oh, what do you think? Oh, I loved he did this, he did that. Not once did his appearance come up
Even register.
at all. So I realized that, oh, the culture has shifted. So this conversation will be very different for her when she's having it. But for us in today, when we talk about it, does it exist? Absolutely.
Alrighty, let's come to you. What do you
Absolutely.
think? Do women perpetuate patriarchy? And what does that look like?
I would agree with Utien. I have to call the full name.
Tell us.
I would agree with her because, I mean, like she said, there's been a template that has been laid out for us, right? Born into a system. And God forbid you do anything outside of that system. Some of us in our generation are bold enough, right? Because we see a window out of it. So we're like, okay, yes, we grew up in the system and we're asking our parents questions now. When we're younger, God help your
born
destiny. You know, to ask your mother anything that she says you should do as a woman or a boy. You didn't have that right to speak up. But now we're older, we're like, okay, this is not okay, this is wrong. So over time, like she said, culture, we're born into a system and you don't ask why. You just follow the system because you can't see a way out. The Gen Z people they are exposed to the world on a
Globalization.
large scale. So there are opportunities everywhere. There are examples everywhere. I mean, these guys at the click of a button, I have 2 kids, a 10 and a 7, but they've been using iPads since they were like 1 year old. So there's a lot of escape from the template that they have as a culture. Our mothers didn't have the escape, right? They were born into the culture. They're not exposed to, there's no alternative. They don't know any better. We had the escape after secondary school. I mean, you've left boarding house, you've gone to uni. Now you have phones and you can see people in Western worlds and you can see what it should be like. So you have that escape. Now we're fighting for it. Gen Zs have always had the escape. They've always had an alternate plan. So they know that, okay, this template that we have as Nigerians is not what it should be. It's not the only way that it should be. So yes, it's very prevalent and we are perpetuating it.
Chinasa, what would you say?
So I'm tempted to agree with both of them, and just to the extent that it's true that we perpetrate patriarchy, and just judging from how we're socialized and just generally gender socialization, how we're raised to believe that certain things are supposed to be done by men and certain things are supposed to be done by women. So growing up, for instance, I know that, learning how to cook was important because even in my neighborhood, oh, you can't cook already. How come? Why don't you know how to cook? So I remember, in fact, we had a help, and by age 9, it's like, Nasa needs to know how to cook rice, and she needs to know how to do this. I had a brother, it's 2 of us. There was no mention, there was no need for us to know how to cook rice, just Nasa, and so that's what I grew up believing. But in terms of the shift that Uti speaks about, and I see that, it's happening more maybe in the developed world, and maybe it's inching closer to where we are now, because at least we're having this conversation and we're here. And I'm thinking, how am I raising my daughter? And I remember I was citing an example, said my daughter, yes, she's 10 years old, and we're having conversation. Interestingly, she's reading this book that's talking about bold women in American, Black women that in African history, Black women that have done great stuff. And she says to me, did you know that Seaman William Brown or something was the first female to disguise as a male to participate in the military? And I was shocked. And I said to her, what does that mean to you? And then she says, well, so they felt that she wasn't strong enough. And so she had to pretend to be a man or dress like a man to get acceptance. And I said, so do you believe that? She said, of course not. That I think that I can do anything I want to. And I had a bit of joy in my like, yes, that's the way to go. You can do anything you want. So I think that shift is beginning to happen because it means that I'm raising a child that doesn't feel like all she has to do. So I asked her, okay, so what do you think? Why do you think they think women can't do that? She said, because they think women are only suited to fashion and doing. And in fact, when she said tea party, I said, in Nigeria, do we do tea party? But all these enlightening books that you read. And I said to her, well, fantastic, at least I feel like I'm raising a global citizen that sees beyond gender. Absolutely.
Exactly. Fantastic. So let's bring it home. Have you ever had to fight against patriarchal norms?
Isn't that what
and,
we're doing?
and tell us, especially where you've been called a troublemaker for trying to do that.
Or difficult, that's the word. Difficult.
I think I like the example that Nasa gave because that's my first memory, my oldest memory of something's not right here. I think I was staying with my cousins at the time, and they were all boys. So the girls were the cousins who were staying with the male cousins. And we all woke up in the morning and we're playing video games. Everybody's having fun. And then my auntie is like,
what are you doing?
Oh, yeah, kitchen. I'm like,
Are we not?
and so I expected that the kitchen was for everybody.
All human beings.
And then it was like kitchen, and everybody's like, oh, switch off that video game. Oh, we're all groaning. And then kitchen. So in my mind, I'm thinking, everybody trooped to the kitchen. And then names start being called, and then
They're all female.
so why is it just
the girls?
So then we go to the kitchen, and then I hear the video game come back on. So the problem was not the video game; it was that I was playing the video game when she was going to cook so much. It stuck with me. That's my oldest memory of saying something's not right here. And I think for us that grew up in that time frame, it was girls' kitchen. The most the boys ever did was wash car.
Yep.
It was the most.
No, absolutely.
Everything else was always followed by that statement of, hey, when you get to your husband's house, you will do
Yes,
this. You will do that.
yes.
And that was said by
It was
Women.
said by women.
Your mother,
Always
your aunts.
It was never. In fact, a lot of the time, fathers then used to just sort of groan, like, leave these children.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
But we always were the ones who were. It was almost like, I have to get you ready for this.
If not, I have failed.
I have
failed as a
failed.
mother.
So
Absolutely.
they're preserving the culture that was passed on to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you find that so that for me is my oldest memory. I mean, the one of troublemaker. How much time do we have? And how long is a piece of string? I'm outspoken. I'm argumentative. I don't shy away from a fight.
There's a problem.
So I'm just
Difficult.
a problem.
Yes.
And my mouth, well,
This is
so
a work in progress.
Oh my God, I think I have to fight patriarchy every day of my life.
I think so.
You know, so I didn't grow up in a girls and boys setting. Thankfully, I didn't. In my house, we didn't know what was boy, what was girl. Everybody did everything.
Right.
Although, yes, there were the subtle, I started cooking at 9. My brother is 9 years younger than me. So, of course, most of the responsibility, I'm way older. So it wasn't a thing of gender. It was, you're older, babe, as in, get your ass and do work around here. So I didn't have that until I got into the society. You know what I mean? Particularly the political setting.
Oh, gosh.
Right, so I'm coming there with my whole, I could be what I want to be, I could do everything I want to do,
Take on the world.
I could take on the world, and someone is coming to tell you,
Calm down.
relax. You know what I mean? Yeah, you they come consultation. Where the men for the team now? Yeah, like, oh, you can't break the collar. You have to have men in your team. Oh, I'm not going to do consultation with you because you guys are all women. And I'm thinking, I don't have head, or like, you know, it was a rude awakening for me, because I didn't grow up like that. My father was very deliberate about ensuring that he pushed me even if I was a girl. Yeah, he didn't say, oh, this was too big or too small. But until I got into the societal setting, and then even before politics, even with work, right, getting into entrepreneurship, I was in the oil and gas sector for a while as well. That was difficult, because I'm like young. I was 24. I was in the oil and gas sector. You're not just young. You're now a young woman. How dare you? I mean, who are you? Who's your God? You know what I mean? Who is your God? So now I'm having to fight that because of the sector that I'm in. I heard it a lot. You are too young to do this. You are a young woman. You should be in your husband's house.
Like double jeopardy, like there's one scene.
That's the intersectionality
you are
issue.
young,
Yes,
and the other scene, you are female.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What business do you have in politics? What business do you have with governance? No. If one told me that, look, he's 50-something, he has less time in politics than I do, I still have time. I'm 33, by the way.
So you can
No, I should wait. Yeah, my time comes when I'm like 50 because I'm a woman.
And this is,
You know what I
this
mean?
must have been an exposed human being.
Exposed, went to school, had university certificate.
And that shocks me.
He was
That's
running for House of Assembly as well. So we're
these are the
having
problems.
conversations amongst ourselves. And he's like, Oride, I think you should step down for me because you have more time in politics than I do. I was like, bros, how far?
And you know what's very interesting is you can actually take that conversation to a group of women.
Yeah.
And they'll say, but
Yeah.
Toro,
Yeah.
Well, it's true now. You too.
My
You're
greatest
too much.
people who told me to chill were women. They're like, but I mean, relax now. It's not yet. Your time will come.
what time is that?
I don't know.
So, I mean, patriarchy, like we experience it every day. I think living in Nigeria alone, you know, even if you speak, there's someone to say, why, who asked you to talk? Why? So my first experience, and, you know, I shared this earlier, was in secondary school. I'm talking to this teacher that I respect and I feel like he knows a lot. You know how you respect your teachers? And I say, oh, this is what I would like to be. I'd like to be an engineer. And he says, oh, no. And, you know, well-meaning, like, no, I don't think that's the kind of profession you should be looking to go into. You're a girl, you know, go into something that women do,
Like what?
maybe law or
Oh,
something.
God.
And so, you know, I listened to him and I believed him. And so I'm not an engineer, obviously, because I believed what this man said. And I said, oh, yes, that's true. That's not a profession for women. And so I enabled it, right? And so going through life and just different situations. So I'll give an example, not even my story. So my friend hires a driver that she pays and he's acting up. And and so she's calling him and he says no. When he wants to resign, he now says, and you know, it's a canimo. He wants to resign. I'm the one that pays your salary. He said, I'd like to have a conversation with. No, so he sends a message to her husband saying that I have your type at home to the woman. I can't talk to you. So I need to speak to a fellow man that will understand me. And I was like, thankfully, you know, progressive husband says, I don't understand. Who is paying your salary? Go and speak to the person. Juicy. But these are the issues where men feel entitled and feel like, you know, even across the social strata.
Everywhere.
It's not
Everywhere.
So it's sad when you hear already talking about someone who's educated. It's sad when you hear someone who's also, you know, at a lower societal class or social class who also thinks like that. So it cuts across and we enable it.
Yes,
We do.
We absolutely do.
So let's talk about the role of culture and religion. I know we've spoken a lot about it, right? Culture and religion in sort of informing how we as women have now sort of started, you know, we become custodians, like we said, and we're institutionalizing patriarchy. Like, how does that manifest itself? And what can we start to do? Like, if this is, you know, how we got it, like, what can we start to do? Utina, what would you say to that?
There is a consciousness that we each have to have, which I'm glad is seeping in because as the culture shift is happening, regardless of the generation, conversations like this bring it to the fore, and people have to start to challenge because, I mean, culture changes, but there are a few different drivers for culture changing.
Exactly.
But one of those key drivers is that consciousness of thought. The why is very important. To stop and say, why do I do this? So one thing that I realized when I started to interact with other Black women was this. I love how, what's her name now? Tina Turner's daughter. Is it Tina Turner? Her daughter?
Oh, no.
Ross.
Ross,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The curse. carriage, marriage. Yeah, carriage and what was it now? I think carriage and marriage. So the fact that no matter what you do as a black woman, you don't feel successful until you've gotten married and you've had a child. It doesn't matter, right? So when she said that, I'd never had anyone put it so clearly and succinctly. Because I remember when I turned 30, I literally fell off a cliff because I was like, my life is over. I'm not married. They said if you're not
that
married
was
by
the
now.
deadline.
Can I
Deadline was
interrupt
25.
you?
That is far. 30, you're already old.
25 was like my final deadline because I graduated at 20.
Yeah.
So I thought 5 years was like, if you've not found, then there's
So
no
guess
hope.
what?
Spiritual
So I
problem.
got married before I was 30, and at work, this man comes to me and says, "Congratulations, well done. You have achieved." It was like an achievement. Well done. You see people. So it's in the bank. There's senior people who aren't married yet, and you have done it well done. I'm like, wow, is
So
this
my
what my life
degree
is
doesn't
about?
matter.
No. He was so happy for me. I thought, in fact, I started to think, wow, this marriage thing, does it end some extra
you
income
know
that
what
I'm
I
not
mean?
aware of?
You stand in heaven's line in front.
Exactly. And it wasn't until that happened. I literally was sitting on a beach because I was like, my life is over now. I'm 30, I've not married. I wasn't really. But then sitting there, and I asked myself that, I'm sorry, please excuse, small voice. This marriage do you want it? Or did they tell you
that you must do it?
want it?
Yeah.
And it was such a pivotal moment. It's like an epiphany of, hang on, we need to pick this apart a little bit.
Absolutely.
And it's exactly the same thing with patriarchy, where we need to come to that realization that this is how we do it. But please, why did we start doing it in the first place?
Think about it.
Because if you go back far enough, you will find that it probably started from a place of innocence. But today, is it still relevant? And is it still valid? So it's not.
Yeah.
But that, for me, it's that conscious thought that every individual person, because this change, how we do things don't change by just me making a decision.
Yeah.
We all have to come to that realization
Yeah.
and then collectively start to take action, no matter how small.
Yeah.
So you start to ask yourself, what needle can you move?
Yeah.
One, in my own circle, can I influence this? Can I raise my boy child differently? Can I raise my girl child differently?
Absolutely.
That starts to bring us towards change.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on a break shortly, but already I want to hear from you and NASA quickly around, what can we start to do, to start to unbundle this thing? Because we've been talking about it for far too long.
I think it is right when she says you tweak the little things you have control over. So for instance, you're a parent. How are you raising your kids, right? What you do to them is how they would portray themselves outside. But I'm also thankful because we're beginning to see a shift in leadership as well, in culture. So we have new breeds of rulers or kings who are coming into culture and saying, okay, we've done this for 500 years, but why have we done that?
Absolutely.
We have new religious leaders who are coming into pastoral duties or, a Muslim leader and asking questions. Okay, you people say this is how, but is that really what the book says? Is that really what the Bible says? Let's go back there. Is that really what it says?
So
Is that-
knowledge,
knowledge,
enlightenment,
exactly.
awareness,
And
and really
awareness.
questioning the relevance.
Yes.
So what would you add to that?
Yeah, so I agree. It's knowledge and awareness because, as Uti mentioned, a lot of it has happened when we've been programmed that way in our subconscious. And so for you to bring it to the conscious, then somebody needs to be speaking about it and bringing it to your attention and making you aware. And so if you think about the agents that are responsible for that, and when she talks about, how do you raise your child? So it's from home, the parents, and then it's also how do you get that reinforced in the school? So the teachers as well. And then that informs your social interactions because, you've already sort of set that foundation. So I totally agree. Not creating that knowledge and awareness so that it brings it to the conscious, to the fore. And we know that there's a problem here and we need to fix it.
Right. All right. We'll continue this interesting conversation when we get back. Welcome back to the Leading Woman Show. So we're still having a conversation about women as custodians of patriarchy. And I want us to start to talk about, and I want to start with you already. How can we start to disintegrate the patriarchal norms that have prevented women from seeking leadership positions that are perpetuated by women? How do we do that? So that we stop hearing that, women don't support women because I went to meet a woman I wanted to, but we know that it's women who get men into leadership positions.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the knowledge and awareness thing. So, what are you feeding this new generation of women with, right? The old people come with we've worked hard, we've fought. Then you young girls just want to come and, no. You two work hard and fight. That's why they will send you to the kitchen and have the boys play games, because that's what they did.
Right.
Do you understand?
So it's almost like I did
Yes,
it.
we did
Why do you
this.
want to
Why are
skip
you
it?
now?
It's like a
Yes,
rite of passage.
it's rites of passage. What? I can't be a top female politician in Nigeria
gotta
today if
earn
I
it.
didn't slave for it. So you, 33-year-old, now wants to just come and just. It's not
Get
gonna
it.
happen. Go and slave for it. So they are putting onto you what they know, and it's fair because that's what they
So
know.
you can't give full. Yeah.
So it's up to us now to put onto the next generation what we know is right,
And just.
and just, and you start impacting them. Women should support women, expose them to what is right and just.
Yeah.
And over time, it will change. I don't get upset anymore when older women turn me down. I used to get furious, but I realized that you're only projecting what you know, right? So I would honor you based on
Yeah.
your knowledge. Now it's up to me to make sure I don't do the same.
So
So I
people
open
behind
my arms as wide to a lot of young women, right? And say, okay, I'm not going to prevent you from flying because they prevented me. I'm going to bring you on board because I know this is what is the right thing to do. So it's based on, it's really what they know that you're projecting. And I don't, So we have to do better.
Absolutely.
We have to
Chinasa,
do
what would you
better.
say?
So I agree with already, it's that knowledge and awareness and projecting. So it starts with us, people like us, we know better. And how can we get a critical mass of women in strategic positions to also sing the song and advocate for what we know and understand? It's not going to happen
Overnight.
It's a long drawn process, and I think it's a third generation generations to come. But let's start. If we don't start, then it's never going to happen.
Absolutely.
So let's not get discouraged by the fact that we still have women who are educated, who should know better, who are only operating from what they know. But we know better, so we'll operate from what we know, and hopefully that change comes sooner than later.
No, so Uti, I want to come to you, and I hear already and NASA, and I agree, because there is an opportunity for the next generation. I have a 7 and 5-year-old daughters, so I see that we must do better for them. But I mean, Uti, based on what you were saying earlier, you go to a family event today and say, for example, as a single woman, I want to run for office. And, there's a family meeting and your aunties, they are like, Uti, come.
Want to waste your life?
Yeah.
Uti, come, So what can we... So for me, those aunties too, they need some awareness today. Because they're going to be around for another 15 years. You know what I'm saying? So for those aunties, while we do the other one, what would you say?
I love that question because with awareness and knowledge, you have to put some strategy into it. Because guess what? There's two things that can happen. I can either say, no, aunties, you don't understand. You don't know. You don't get it. I can vex and say, you know what? You people don't know anything. And I walk out. Or I could become the conduit. Because we've talked about the change for the generations to come. But those aunties, they're not speaking from a place of not meaning you well.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
They do mean
It's
They
what
have
they
a
know.
valid reason for having the viewpoints that they have.
Yes.
We can't trivialize their fears, their history and knowledge. So the point is, you have to be able to see that they are driven by something. They're trying to
Understand it.
keep you away from something
Right.
based on the scope of their knowledge and experience.
Exactly.
You have to be able to realize that and say, you know what? What is it that you are afraid of for me? And here is what I am trying to achieve that will achieve this for all of us. And then so you become that gap. Because what I'm seeing today is that a lot of young people are failed. You don't know anything. You don't know what's happened.
And that's not okay.
And history
Yeah.
is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because you have to learn.
rewrite the future.
Thank you. Because you have to learn what went wrong so you don't make
don't
the
make it-
same mistake or a similar mistake to the same problem, because there really is nothing new under the sun. It's just how you
Absolutely.
react.
Yeah, that's right.
So the truth of it is, we have a job. The first thing is, you now even know there's a problem. but how do you attack it? Because if you want to be a solution, you can't add to the problem. You can't simply say everybody that has gone before me knows nothing.
They don't know
Absolutely.
anything.
You have to be, why are you the way you are?
There'll be
I have to
resistance.
understand it. I have to learn from it. Then I have to go, okay, now I know where you went wrong. Here's what I'm going to take about what you learned and what
Yeah.
you knew, and here's how I'm going to do it
Yes,
differently.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That way, I bring everybody along.
on
Yeah.
the
So when we
table.
say there's only 1 million people that are aware today, how do we get the other 199 million to follow? It's not by division.
So I want to talk about the society, men, women. And so as women, we've seen things happen. The society is suffering for women who preserve patriarchy. And I'll give you examples. The number of child brides that we have, number of young women who get raped. There's so many things that we do ignorantly, as we have established sometimes, or based on limited knowledge, that is causing so much harm to our society. How can we start to, when I say get women, because if more women don't come out of that knowledge gap, where we now get more women to support women to go into political leadership positions. Because what's happening ultimately is that if the person making decisions for you and laws for you and
Absolutely.
legislation for you and policies for you does not understand the issues,
Yes.
How can they solve for it?
how can they solve for it?
Yes.
And this goes, to whether it's land rights, we were
Yeah.
talking about some of those things. How can we start to really get women to understand the issues and what is at stake,
Yeah.
right? For, so we can go away from this point. What would you say to that?
So there's this illustration, this cartoon illustration that I think is amazing. It's a group of men in a village setting, and they're sat on this table, and the women just on this, like a path carrying gourds of water on their heads. And the men are sat there saying, women, what do they know about water, right? So they're discussing issues about water for the community and feel like, they have monopoly of that knowledge and decision making. Meanwhile, you see the women experiencing it, going through it, carrying the water, and they're not part of that conversation. And what does that tell you? It's patriarchy, right? So if they were going to make that decision and it was going to be robust enough, the women who carried the water on their heads would have better insights. And it's just that inclusiveness. So for me, I think that the thing is for women to understand the power that they have within them, that sense of identity, which unfortunately has been eroded because of the way they've been raised, just to believe that this is how you're supposed to be. I gave an example that when my dad died, just based on tradition, automatically everything goes to the male child. I didn't even object or put up. It's like, yeah, it's fine. I don't have the energy.
Custodian of patriarchy.
I was a custodian. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's true. But then again, I think choose my battle. So was that enough? That wasn't a strategic need, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, it's fine. But maybe in other situations that are more strategic, that would have a more multiplier effect on other people, then yes, absolutely. I understand the power that I hold and within, and will will that for the greater good of more women.
Fantastic. Already.
So I think that women need to realize, like she spoke about power. And yesterday I was reading an article, Bill and Melinda Gates, and Melinda was speaking about how we talk about women empowerment, but we're really not giving women power, right? We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We're actually not giving them power. So what is power? That they're able to make their own decisions, right? They have not just a seat at the table, but a mouth at the table as well. Because it's one thing to sit there and be silent, and it's another thing to actually be able to speak up for yourself,
listened to.
right? And and you're listened to. So I think that we have allowed that whole thing just slide. Women don't realize that they need the power to make the change.
Yes.
And they are not pushing for the power to make change. I'm comfortable being on the table.
Yeah.
I'm a woman. That's good enough for me.
I've made some progress.
You know what I mean? I've made progress. It took me 15 years to be a
50.
senator.
50.
Do you, yeah. No, I mean, you started the career at 40, so by 50, you're 55.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm a senator now. I'm okay. I'm good on the table. But do you really have the power on that
To want
table,
more and go beyond.
to
And
speak
and
up
to
and want
bring
more.
Others.
Other people
Others.
along with
Absolutely.
you. So we think that we're doing so much with all these little things, but we really are not.
scratching the
Because at the end
surface.
of the day, when you look at it, I would say that we don't have the power.
Yes.
An average woman is powerless.
Yes.
Economically, spiritually, financially,
Socially.
everythingly. She not gets power. She's powerless.
Yeah.
So we need to start we need to start letting women know that there's still something missing, and that's the grip of the power. Now, I'm not saying, before they start saying, I'm not saying that we should carry placards
No,
and
no.
but power in your voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear us and hear the why of what we're saying, and then don't just hear us. Reason with us to see how it's affecting us.
Yes.
And why we need to make the change that we need to make, because this is the detriment if we don't.
Exactly. And
You know what
that's
I mean?
the way that women can say, actually, let me rethink how I've been
Exactly.
thinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And maybe I should drop this behavior or this thing that I've done that hasn't empowered us collectively.
Enough.
Collectively.
Yes.
Uti,
Yeah.
what do you have to add to that?
I think that for me, I like to always keep it to the individual because what you can control a lot of the time is you and a very small circle,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of the things that we see today manifesting amongst women is a mindset. The senator who thinks I finally arrived, I have a seat at the table, who doesn't care whether her voice is being heard while she's at the table, the mindset was limited to, I need to get to the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Right?
So it's pretty
So,
fine.
what is that mindset? Right? Because it's so powerful. NASA's daughter doesn't believe that there's anything she can't do.
Yeah.
She's on a different plane from all of us already. So that mindset, because today women get to the table, the senator has arrived. She either thinks I've arrived or I've arrived now. I hope nobody notices I'm here. To challenge the fact that I'm here.
And
Hey,
make sure
you
I
wanted
keep
to
it
be here. Oh,
here.
yeah, now. What did you bring?
Yes, exactly.
You just thought you wanted to look pretty in the chair, Abby. So that mindset, one of the key things women in leadership battle today is imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I was going to
Why?
say.
Till tomorrow.
We are capable. Most times we're more qualified than the men.
Absolutely.
The men are chatting, they're talking, and you're sitting there going, what is he talking about? That doesn't make any sense. But you're quiet. The few women who speak up, they get given a name.
You're a
Yes.
tantrum.
You're difficult. That was
The
so
men will
difficult.
give you a
Yeah.
name,
Labels.
and the women, the custodians, will give you a name too.
Difficult.
Some will even be so kind enough to say, Auntie,
My
let
dear.
me tell you, calm down.
Is my
You know,
dear.
you're giving us a
My
bad
dear,
name.
yeah, it
Yeah.
starts with my
My
dear.
Why
dear.
are you like this? You're making us all look bad. So the mindset that begins to shift to say, yes, we've sold it. Women can do anything. But do we truly believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to get that mindset, right, I think that you need people around that believe and will support you. And I say this
And that's where it
because
goes to the culture.
yeah. So because given an example, even at work, right? You're speaking up for something and you're speaking up and someone comes, so all of you have agreed. But when it comes to getting to the front of the people that you've talked about and everybody just keeps quiet and it's like, oh, you are the Taliban. She's the one that likes to speak up. She's the one that likes to raise. So then you start to say, you know what, let me just keep quiet because it looks like I'm the only one causing trouble. And that's what happens. That's what happens
But
to
do you
me.
think that it started from home training? How we were raised?
No, absolutely. That contributes to it. Again, looking at, what are the drivers of these socializations? It's from the home. So I'm raising a daughter who probably not react like that. So like, I don't understand. Why can't
Why
I
can't
speak?
I
And I'm
speak
just going
up?
to
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
But then you've been raised where if you're speaking too much, then you're rude.
You're rude.
You know,
Yes.
if your voice is loud, why is
There's a
Nasa
They're so aggressive.
So my mom wasn't even necessarily that kind of person. Maybe her sisters like, Adeli's children are very rude. They're asking questions. And I traveled to England for holidays, and my aunt is like, why is she so timid? I'm like, they said we should be keeping quiet. It's the best way to be. That's
make
where
noise.
I'm now looked upon as a well-raised child. So I go to university in England, and then I'm battling. Do I speak or do I not speak? And it affected me for a long time. But obviously, I'm doing things differently because
Well-behaved.
my daughter speak up, and then you still have pockets of where people are like, oh, is she allowed to say that? No, let her express herself. As long as she's
Exactly.
not being disrespectful.
Yeah.
And she understands that speaking your mind and asking questions is not
Equated to
you know,
being.
equated to being
rude.
because that's what happens. Even with guys, you say something. I found situations where I'm politely asking for something like, you're being difficult. I'm like, are you okay? I'm not being difficult. I understand what I want. I'm aware of where I'm going to. And this thing that you're doing isn't taking me there. So I need it to change. Why should I just sit down and accept? But unfortunately,
You're labeled. That's a good time
Interesting.
to take a break. And when we come back, we'll go to the audience. Welcome back to the Leading Woman Show. So we've been talking about women as custodians of patriarchy, and we want to take questions from the audience. Who has a question?
So I have a question.
Okay.
I want to commend everybody here that has spoken. I really do enjoy what all of you have been saying. But my question is, one person made mention of us making changes and starting from our own circles. But how about those that we don't actually know? I'm asking because I've experienced it firsthand. I went to get something, and when it came to paying the bills, I was the one paying, but the lady, the person that answered me, gave the bill to the guy. And I was like, I'm offended because I spoke to you. I'm the one talking to you, but you are giving the bills to a guy. So how do we react when stuff like that happens and it's our own fellow women that do us dirty the most? And we can't just tell them. So how do we just manage that situation and make them aware that, okay, this is actually wrong. You are not my friend, but we need to put it out there, not in a fighting way, but in a more subtle way that they will understand. That is one. And my second question goes like this. Whenever, like you said, the male dominates leadership positions the most, which is not a new thing. Everybody knows that. So don't you think sometimes we need the support of men? Because it's one thing we're speaking our voices, and we also need to convert them to our own side because, truth be told, they hold those positions and they influence a lot of things. So how do we get them here?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Absolutely.
So, Uti, I'll let you take the first one, and then already you take the second
Yeah,
one.
Okay.
absolutely.
I like your first question.
Yeah.
Every situation is an opportunity. And it depends on how you choose to handle it.
Yeah.
So the first thing you said was, I'd be offended. Please don't be offended.
Exactly.
It's so easy to be offended.
Yeah.
But it's a teaching moment, right? Please.
Yeah.
And it's happened to me. So collect the bill from the man in her presence, open your wallet, bring out the money, and pay it. So what happens in those situations usually is like, we just let the man pay because it's been handed to him. So you don't want to, cause a scene. You just let the man pay. No, we need to start to change the mindset that women also have their money. Women also pay. And then as you are paying her, because she wants the money. So, madam, remember who pay you. Now me, no me. Because when we get offended and we just walk away, we're not confronting the issue.
You've not solved the
She will continue to do it.
Thank you, Arden. Second
Makes sense.
question.
And sorry, just because this topic happens to me a lot and it really pisses me off. But even in the moment of pain, what I've done before is you're giving the bill to the guy, no problem. You will take it from him. You would bring it to me, and then I would pay. And then you also tell the guy as well. Thank God if you're with somebody with sense, he should tell her, bring the bill. Now who they pay me that? Bring the bill to me. Then I would pay. It's a teaching moment all the time. The second question, you're absolutely right. We do need the men. So let me point this out. When we speak about women empowerment and lending our voices, it's not a competition.
No.
We're not fighting. You know what I mean? I like to be a baby girl, don't get me wrong. But I also know that I'm a strong woman, right? So we do need the men, right? God created Adam and Eve for a reason, male and female. He made them. You know what I'm saying? He made them equal.
Yeah.
So we can't do this whole gra-gra by ourselves and think that we're going to win. As a matter of fact, that's why we're losing the way we're losing. Because there's a whole new movement where women think that we're bad by ourselves. No, you can't. You need men because they are the ones that are in the place that you want to get what you need. Now, this is where the feminine thing comes in. How do you use the female? I'm not saying, not the other one. Let's be clear. But wisdom as a woman, gentleness as a woman, intuition as a woman, to get what you need to get without losing your dignity, your value, your integrity.
So bring
You know what
them
I'm saying?
as allies.
Yes.
Bring them
You
on
must
board as
bring it.
allies.
Come, it's a game and it's a game of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I
Wisdom.
want. No problem. There's a guy who is there. I'm not going to fight you because the moment you put up a front, he's done that.
Yes.
Yeah? And
You've
you will
locked yourself out.
never
You lose it.
get it.
Yeah.
You would lose it. And even the women who are with him, they will say, waiting. Is it not, he has your type at home, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. So how do I get it? I bend myself. I abase when I need to abase. I abound when I need to abound. As long as I get what I want. And I know that the thing I'm getting is going to bring further change. Then I'll do what I need to do to get it done.
Absolutely.
All right. So as we begin to bring this conversation to a close, I want to give you a minute each to say, how do we fast track? Nasa, I'm going to start with you. How do we fast track, just leaving patriarchy behind? How do we fast track it? Whether it's men or women that how do we just fast track it? We can't wait too long. I know they say it takes 99 years, 100 years. And I'm like, those statistics are for the world. Nigeria would be double that.
Yeah.
We just can't afford it, right?
So I don't know about fast tracking, but I hear you because it's important and it's critical for us to do.
We leapfrog in other
Well,
sectors.
But this one, it's years and years of, should I say brainwashing, subconscious mind programming. So what I would say and what I always say is it starts from us, each of us, in the circles that we have influence over. And as that continues to then have a multiplier effect on other groups of people, how do we So, for instance, the example the lady gave, how do you do that in a situation that exists where that lady has taken the lesson to understand that, actually, a woman campaign is not a man's world and there's nothing wrong with it and it doesn't make the man less of a man. How do, and then if in terms of how we're also raising our children and just our social interactions, how are we passing the message across?
Awesome. Alright, what would you say in 1 minute?
Again, like she said, I don't think we can fast track it. Even from the time of Adam and Eve, it's been there. I don't think it's going to end in our generation or the next one. But we can make the small changes and the progress that we can. Patriarchy is never going to be eliminated from society. As long as there's a man and a woman, it's never going to be eliminated. But it doesn't have to be oppression in the way that we're dealing with it today. So years from now, that oppressiveness goes away. And then we know that, okay, there's patriarchy, but it's not limiting women. It's not binding us. But I don't think there's fast track to eliminate it. There are so many factors. As long as you can't take out culture.
Can I just say something? So patriarchy, what I say is the delineation is male headship and patriarchy, understanding
Right,
that.
so
There's
I'm all
difference.
for eliminating patriarchy and keeping male
headship.
I don't know if we can do it.
I think that we've said so much. In politics, I think in Nigeria today, it has hooked us all to the point where everybody
wants change.
Do we even understand
it has to, well, there's that too. At that point where, as women, today everybody says, the woman is the bedrock of the economy, of the home, of all of that. We've created so many sound bites that sound nice, that make us feel like we are making progress, right?
Yeah.
Which we are. But the responsibility now comes to a point of action, right? So the same way we're saying take politics to the grassroots, we all have women around us. How aware are you of the situation of patriarchy? Do you challenge it whenever you see it? Even in the little things that we do, the split second where you say silent, where you think it but you don't say it. We all need to start to close those gaps.
Absolutely.
And we all need to, because it's a collective action that changes culture, and that's where we need to be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to all my amazing guests. I want to thank my remarkable speakers for a thrilling and insightful conversation today. Keep a date with us because next week we'll be discussing another fascinating topic with some fantastic guests. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to shout out to a leading woman you know and tag us so we can celebrate her too. Until next time, remember that women's leadership can change everything, everywhere. I remain your host, Abosede Uduaghan. Bye for now.
Well done.